Hello and welcome back for another Elder Scrolls Cookbook cooking video. Today we're going to be making cabbage biscuits. To get started, you will need a half of a small head of green cabbage. I'm sorry for the glare on that. And the first thing you want to do is send it through a food processor or on a mandolin and shred it very finely. And then the next thing you want to do is put it in a colander with 2 teaspoons of something like kosher salt to allow as much water to come out of this cabbage as you can get. I let mine set for a little over an hour, and then once it was done, I just strained it, or I squeezed out all the extra water. And now what we're going to do is brown the cabbage up in about 1 tablespoon of, I have 1 tablespoon of olive oil. But you could use a vegetable oil or a canola oil, but you don't want to use anything that has like a strong flavor because that will impart into your cabbage. So I'm going to go ahead and just dump this in. I'm going to turn my heat up and scrape all the cabbage out of here. And this will probably take about 10 to 15 minutes to get it all nice and lightly browned. You don't want to burn it, but you do want to cook it down. And you don't want to put a lot of oil in here because the cabbage is going to absorb that. And this should actually help cook out a little bit more of the water that is inherent in cabbage. You also, at this point, want to add a pinch of pepper. And I was always taught that a pinch of pepper is about 1/8 of a teaspoon. So that is what I'm going to add. I'm just going to eyeball that and stir that in. Now I do not need to add any more salt to this recipe. I have not rinsed the salt off of the cabbage. But there is still plenty left on the cabbage leaves themselves. Alright, I am going to let this brown up, and I will bring you back when it's to that point. Alright guys, it's been about 15 minutes. The cabbage has softened up more and is starting to turn translucent, and the edges are browning very nicely. I just let it set for a little bit, and then I would make sure I stirred it just to keep it from burning, as if you were gonna caramelize up onions. But yeah, looks good. So let me get you over to my other counter and we will move on to the next step. Right, I have transferred the cabbage into a bowl so we can add the rest of the ingredients. The next thing we are going to start with is 1/4 cup of butter, and I've let this start to come to room temperature, and we're just going to stir it in until it's completely melted into the cabbage. Make sure we get all our butter in, and then we just want to stir it until it melts, which shouldn't take that long. The cabbage is fresh off the stove, so lots of residual heat left. Alright, there we go. Now at this point, I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of cold whole milk, and this will actually help bring down the temperature of the cabbage so that we don't ruin the yeast when we add it in. And we're also going to be adding in an egg, and it won't start cooking the egg. And the next thing I'm going to add in is 2 teaspoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of active or instant bread machine yeast. And that was 1 teaspoon of that. And I'm just going to stir this in now until it's all incorporated. Now I'm going to add in 1 egg There we go. I'm just going to stir that in. Alright, now that our egg is incorporated, I'm going to slowly start adding in 2.5 cups of flour. And you want to do this in small steps until the flour is all in. Now you may need more. This is a bread recipe, and depending on the weather outside, you may need more flour than what the recipe calls for, or you may not need as much. It all depends on if it's raining or how much moisture is in the air. While I'm doing this, let me remind you of the community-driven playlists that Jacob and I have going on our channels. If you would like to be a part of that, all you have to do is go out and make a cooking video and then post it to your channel. And then once you've done that, let either JPIC or I know, either in the comments section of our latest cooking videos, or if you are a part of his Discord server, you can let us know over there as well. Alright guys, I moved the dough over to the cutting board to get the last of the flour incorporated in. And, you know, it's kneaded up nicely. It springs back when I push into it. So I think at this point, I'm just going to roll it up into a nice little ball and stick it back in my bowl. There, and let me get my cutting board out of the way a little bit. And then I'm going to loosely cover it with saran wrap. And I've preheated my oven to 170 degrees, which is the lowest temperature that my oven goes to. And I'm going to stick it in there after I cover it with a tea towel as well for about an hour to let it rise. And then we will move on to the next step. So I will see you then. Alright guys, the dough rose for an hour and it did double in size. And then I've gone ahead and rolled it out to about 3/4 of an inch thick. Here on my my bread board, I like to call it. It's what I normally use for all my bread. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to come through and score it. I just want to do it very gently and make like a crosshatch pattern on top of the biscuits, or on top of the dough, before we cut our biscuits out. And then I'm going to go in this direction as well. Again, I don't want to press down too deeply. There we go. Alright, I'm going to use a 2-inch biscuit cutter to cut these out. Now, when you do this, kind of go as close to the edge as you can so you don't have too much that you have to try and rework into an extra piece. And then you just want to push straight down, and you don't want to twist it or anything. You just want to pull it straight out, and then you can go in and kind of break it apart and pull it out. If you twist it, you're going to seal the edges, and then your biscuits won't rise. Although the cabbage is a little hard to cut through. I'm going to say that right now. There we go. There's our first one. Let's see if we can get a few more. Alright guys, our biscuits are all cut out, and I'm just going to set these aside to rise for about 20 more minutes while my oven is preheating to 350 degrees. Alright guys, it's been 20 minutes since I set these aside to start rising, and all I'm going to do now is very gently brush the tops with just a little bit of heavy cream. You want to do this very gently. If you push down too hard, you're going to deflate your biscuits. And this is just going to help with a little bit of browning on the tops of them. Alright guys, there we go. I've brushed all the tops on all the biscuits. And now I'm going to put this in a 350 degree oven for about 20 minutes. So I will see you when they're done. Guys, it's been 20 minutes and I rotated the tray at halfway through just so that they would bake evenly. And they are done. They didn't quite get as brown as I thought they were going to on top, but they smell really good. So let's break into one and give it a little taste. Now take this one right here. They did brown up nicely on the bottom. And now I don't expect these to be like a big fluffy biscuit. They're not going to be. The cabbage is going to keep it more of a denser biscuit than what you would normally expect. There we go. A little bit of butter fresh out of the oven. Oh wow. These are actually really, really good. I'm really enjoying the taste of it. You don't actually get the taste of cabbage in them, which is a little strange because there is, you know, a half of a head of cabbage in here, but wow, they are really good. I would definitely recommend you guys go out and try these and make them for yourselves. Alright guys, there you go. No need to travel to Balmora to find cabbage biscuits. You can make them straight from the Elder Scrolls Cookbook. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below. If you tried this recipe out, let me know how it turned out for you. Remember to check out the Elder Scrolls playlist as well as the Gamers and Geeks playlist. And I will leave links down in the description to both of those. But for now, thank you for joining me. I've been Vault Girl. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And I hope I see you in the next one.